everybody, Nancy Hart here with Whole Heart Evolution. And guess what? I got a question for you. Do you love to give gifts? Do you like to get gifts? Do you love both? And it's okay to love both. I kind of do. What's more importantly is what's more fun for you, the giving, the receiving? Think about that. Well, hey, as we head into the holiday season, do you find yourself kind of wondering, what am I going to get for people? And do you ever find yourself getting stuck? Well, I'd like to offer you an idea today that you might not have considered. It's something original and incredibly personal. And while you might not have to shop for it, you are likely going to need to put some thought and some heart and some effort into it. You up for that? It's something hopefully that you've actually given before and been given. So it's kind of like the ultimate regift. You want to know what it is? Wait for it. It's called forgiveness. Hey, I bet you weren't expecting that one, were you? If I could give it to you in a box, I would. But let's talk about that, okay? We're in our Fall's Fertile Fields series. Actually, this is the last of our 4-part series. And as we've been talking about when we're out hunting for pumpkins or out in the countryside just getting a breath of air, and notice that the fields are turned. The crops are done. The fields have been tilled. And they're in that space of rest and rejuvenation, getting ready to create another healthy new crop in the new year. Well, I would pose that's the same idea for the field as it is for us as it is for the field. We have an opportunity here. Wouldn't it be great right now to be able to, to clear out, to release the old as we're inviting in the new? That no matter what the circumstance, situation, or condition, and believe me, there are plenty of them, and the hurt that we've experienced, what if we were willing to release that and release that with the idea that when we put that burden down, we open ourselves to something new, something greater. We open ourselves, we clear a path for greater creativity, which means we get to express and be more of who we are without having to carry that burden around. It's a greater flow. I'd like to take a moment to talk to you about what psychologists say forgiveness is and isn't, and it's an important distinction. And for those of you who may be listening today and watching this and are already in a fairly robust forgiveness practice, say via your family, or perhaps it's a faith-based tradition or a philosophical study you have, this might be a really great opportunity for you to do a little bit of a check-in with yourself. Is there something, kind of that check-in in the 6x16 space I talk about a lot, that space between the 6 inches between your ears and that 16 between your head and your heart, right? That super valuable real estate that we have. And check in and see if there's something that might want releasing. And here's what I can promise all of us, if I know anything about this, is that if you are wondering whether or not you have something to forgive, something to release, you just have one question to ask yourself. Are you breathing? I bet you are if you're watching this. And if you're breathing, you likely have something to give forgiveness for. And this is, in this sense, forgiveness is about more than somebody who bumped you in the store or maybe grabbed the last box of cereal that you desperately wanted for your 5-year-old, right? We can forgive that sort of stuff. This is the things that affect us at greater depth, and where some of the really interesting opportunity to create space is. Let me do this with you. If I may, I'm going to read to you from a publication out of UC Berkeley, and it's called The Greater Good Magazine, and I thought it was a really nice, succinct way of looking at how psychology views forgiveness and its power. It says this: psychologists generally define forgiveness as a conscious, deliberate decision to release feelings of resentment or vengeance toward a person or group who has harmed you, regardless of whether they actually deserve your forgiveness. Just as important as defining what forgiveness is, though, is understanding what forgiveness is not. Experts who study and teach forgiveness make clear that when you forgive, you do not gloss over or deny the seriousness of an offense against you. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting, nor does it mean condoning or excusing offenses. Though forgiveness can help repair a damaged relationship, if that individual, and this is my ad, if the individual happens to be still with us, or even if they've left us, it doesn't obligate you, either here or there, wherever there is, to reconcile with the person who harmed you or release them from legal accountability. Instead, forgiveness brings the forgiver peace of mind and frees him or her from corrosive anger. It's an inside job. There's an old analogy, an old story about a person carrying a hot coal and expecting it to burn the other person, and yet they're the one carrying it. Put down the hot coal. Give yourself that gift. And let me just say that I would suspect that some of you who are watching this may have had some really horrific experiences. Yeah, abuse, neglect, betrayal. Hear me on this. I'm going to reiterate what the experts just said, that in the practice of forgiving, this is not about saying what happened was okay. It's about releasing its power around us and putting it down. There are some who say that when we give that gift of what they might call grace, that release that we provide ourselves, that it actually may benefit the other. I don't know that I'm smart enough about that. In my heart, I believe that's potentially true. That's for you and you to know yourself. But at the end of the day, it isn't about the other person. It's about you. Create that space in yourself. There's a wonderful quote from my teacher, Mary Morrissey, that I wanted to share with you, and then a quick practice if you do not have an affirmation of your own. So the quote, and I ask you to embrace this, is that from her, is that forgiveness doesn't change the past, but it changes the present and it changes the future. And if you find yourself in a space where you would like to experiment, you are willing to and like to experiment with a forgiveness, let's call it an affirmation, a saying, a mantra that you can say to yourself. And again, in forgiveness, it's repetition. It's not a one and done. When it's the bigger stuff, it's not a one and done. But I've found this to be very, very powerful, and it's just 3 simple phrases that you can offer. And again, my teacher was the one who offered this idea to me. And it says, I forgive you completely. I forgive us both from our past. I accept healing now. I forgive you completely. I free us both from our past. I accept healing now. Ladies and gentlemen, may this serve you. May you give yourself perhaps one of the best gifts ever this holiday season. Contemplate it, be with it, feel the release, and feel the joy of expressing you as you. It's been my honor and pleasure to serve you today, everybody. Come visit us all over on Facebook, and I've got another workshop coming up. And come visit us next Wednesday for another fun opportunity for a little midweek mindset checkup. It's been my joy, everybody. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.